Welcome everyone to the Rider Bar. Please take a seat. Servers will be with you shortly to take your orders and enjoy your evening's entertainment. Now, for those of you who have yet to watch the episode or hate spoilers, please close your ears and just listen to the jazz music. But if you're otherwise still here, let's continue. In the episode start, we are already treated to a scene with Kamen Rider Caliber having apparently been revived by his sword, Kurayami, and still Daichi Kamijo. And I think this is pretty interesting because I think a lot of us, including myself, speculated that Kento would become the next Kamen Rider Caliber. But seemingly, it's still Kamijo's voice actor within the suit. So it's most likely still Daichi Kamijo, the previous Kamen Rider Saber. We won't know until we actually see more concrete proof, because so far that seems to be the case, that Kamijo seems to have revived himself after the last episode, because in the previous episode, episode 13, Toma finished him off while fighting in midair to stop his approach to the door of eternal truth. So I don't know how or why or how this is gonna work, but let's continue. In the next scene, we also see that the door to eternal truth, which has been sealed in the Ring of Fire by Toma and his dragon using Dragonic Knight in the previous episode, is starting to open, as the Ring of Fire, the seal that Toma placed around it, is starting to weaken. At the same time, back at the Sword of Logos base, Rintaro, Mei, and Tetsuo begin discussing about the other Wonder Ride book, the mysterious Golden Wonder Ride book, that was also with the Dragonic Knight Wonder Ride book that Tetsuo was researching and testing out. Rintaro asked that Tetsuo give the second Golden Wonder Ride book to him so that he can claim its power as his own. In the meantime, Kamen Rider Buster and Kamen Rider Kenzan and Kamen Rider Saber goes to confront the first of the three General Megits, Legiel. I hope I said his name right. However, while they're confronting him and the battle was about to start, Caliber finally shows himself to them once more, revealing that he did not die in the previous episode. Saber, Buster, and Kenzan then begins their battle anew with Kamen Rider Caliber and Legiel. Toma, aka Kamen Rider Saber, then transforms into Kamen Rider Saber using Brave Dragon and Lamp de Alangina. Both him and Kento's Wonder Ride books, wielding both Ikazuchi and Reika as sacred swords, proclaiming that his bond with Kento is going to defeat Kamen Rider Caliber. Afterwards, both Kamen Rider Saber and Kamen Rider Kenzan unleashes their attack on Kamen Rider Caliber, while Buster faces Legiel on another location. However, the fight between the three riders and the two antagonists doesn't go exactly their way. To make matters worse, the two other Mega Generals, Zoas and Storius, finally arrive as well, to give Caliber enough time to make it to the door of eternal truth without any more distractions. Afterwards, Caliber departs for the door to eternal truth, while Storius, Zoas, and Legiel faces off against Kamen Rider Buster, Kamen Rider Kenzan, and Kamen Rider Saber respectively. To prevent Caliber from reaching the door to eternal truth, Kenzan distracts two of the Mega Generals, giving Saber enough time to make his way towards Caliber to stop him himself. And just in the nick of time, Kamen Rider / Tetsuo arrives on the battlefield, leaving Rintaro and Mei behind to keep watch over the final Wonder Ride book that was still being processed. Afterwards, Caliber and Saber goes elsewhere to face off, while Slash, Kenzan, and Buster faces off against the three Mega Generals. Buster facing off against Zoas, Kenzan versus Legiel, and Slash versus Storius. And finally, the new Wonder Ride book that was to be claimed by Rintaro finally activated itself. King Lion Daisenki. And just in the nick of time as well, as Saber, while clashing with Caliber, is once again interrupted by Storius and the other two Mega Generals, who once again distracts the four riders now to give Caliber enough time to make it to the door to eternal truth, and this time Caliber actually finally makes his way into the door to eternal truth. Took maybe about half the episode, I guess. And to give Toma, Kamen Rider Saber, the time as well, so that he may chase after Caliber into the door to inner truth to stop him, Rintaro arrives with his new King Lion Daisenki Wonder Right book to transform into Kamen Rider Blade King Lion Daisenki, which has more than enough firepower and strength to overcome all 3 General Megits at the same time. I'm not gonna say stomp, because my guess is that these 3 have not shown their full strength yet. And as a final shot, King Lion Daisenki's final attack destroys the one, or at least the purple pillar of light, preventing any more people from chasing after Saber and Caliber into the door to inner truth as it closes, as now one of the pillar of light is gone. With 5 remaining, Toma makes it his way into the door to inner truth as the episode closes, and that's it. So next episode we will see most likely Kamen Rider Saber versus Kamen Rider Caliber. So that was a quick recap about what happened in this current episode. If you wish to, for those of you who are watching and have not yet watched Kamen Rider Saber and are curious about the episode, you should watch it yourself. Overall, this was a pretty fun episode, and I have to say it was really action-packed, especially considering and with reference to the previous episode being pretty dark, with both Kento's death and Daichi's supposed death. Kento, we still don't know what happened to him. His body disappeared and his eyes grew red while he disappeared. But what we most of us speculated about Kento being the next Kamen Rider Caliber seemed to be wrong so far. But my guess is that Daichi is going to die again after the fight with Kamen Rider Saber within the door to eternal truth, and this time Kento will be the one to emerge as the new Kamen Rider Caliber. Kurayami has his soul after all, so that's what I'm guessing, really. Overall, I would like to say this about the series. It has been really fun watching all the action scenes. This episode particularly, there was a lot of sword fighting, and the choreography is, I'd say, quite good, actually. Another thing that I would like to point out is, for those of us who are wondering why Toma, actually, Kamen Rider Saber, seemed to be losing against Caliber in this current episode, especially considering in the previous episode he was winning and actually beat Caliber. You have to remember that Caliber now understands a little bit more and understands better about Draconic Knight, and also, I guess, production-wise, this episode was meant to showcase King Lion Daisenki and its power. So to have Draconic Knight in this episode might have taken away the moment from Rintaro, Kamen Rider Blade, and his new form. As well as, if they showed the Draconic Knight here and it's losing to Caliber, it would not look very good now, would it? Especially since it just debuted in the previous episode. So they'll save that for the episode 15 mark, where Kamen Rider Saber faces Kamen Rider Caliber for the one last time within the door to eternal truth, which is the next episode. Lastly, in reference to the bad guys, the Megits, I would like to specifically mention and pick out the fact that the Megit generals seem to be incredibly proactive and has a lot of initiative in challenging the riders themselves. There are not a lot of cases where I actually see that in Kamen Rider history. Even in the Heisei era, most of the time it's like Monster of the Week, main bad guys send their minions to go fight the Kamen Riders, and only in the later on episodes that they actually finally appear. But here we actually see, and with the background story regarding these 3 Megit generals, and the last one, Disast, about the fact that 15 years ago, or I think it was 15 years ago in the story, they were the ones who actually fought the Sword of Logos before themselves. These Megit generals are apparently pretty bloodthirsty, that they go seeking the riders themselves to face off against them, and they seldom use their minions to do work for them. They would prefer to fight the Kamen Riders themselves, and that I think is actually really interesting. The last time I've seen main antagonist bad guy monsters who are proactive and actually challenges the Kamen Riders themselves would be Kamen Rider. I think X8 counts with Genom, and then Harad, as well as later on Kronos. The main bad guys are always taunting the riders and actually fighting them themselves. And before that, there was also Kamen Rider Drive with the Roid Mute Generals, and Kamen Rider Gaim with the Invest Overlords. So there's not a lot of Kamen Rider series where the main bad guys themselves actually proactively faces off against the Kamen Riders themselves. So this is actually a very welcome change. I guess you could say that they want this group of bad guys really are swordsmen true and true, and they wanted to show off their fighting skills. Most likely later on in the series, we will see the riders being able to overcome them, and maybe the bad guys will actually also gain new power-ups of their own. Because I don't think Storius, Zois, and Legiel are done improving their strength yet. But aside from that, this episode, I give a really big thumbs up to. After all, it deals with the apparent death of Kamen Rider Espada Kento in the previous episode, with the Sword of Logos mourning his death, but remembering that they promised him that they would keep the world safe in his absence. And so I look forward to the next episode, and I really want to see what happens next, because next episode is going to be Kamen Rider Saber versus Caliber, and hopefully this will be the last time, as in for Daichi Kamijo. And as well as, apparently in the next episode, we'll be seeing more of Kamijo's backstory about what happened previously between him and the other members of the Sword of Logos. So that's something we can look forward to. Other than that, I would also like to pose a question to all the viewers if you're watching this. If you've watched Kamen Rider before, firstly, what is your favorite Kamen Rider series across the board? Showa to Heisei to Reiwa. And from that series, which is your favorite Kamen Rider? If it has more than one Kamen Rider. If it doesn't, then if it's like, for example, Kuga, where there's only Kamen Rider Kuga, then name your favorite character and why. For me, personally, my favorite Kamen Rider series is Kamen Rider Ryuki, and my favorite character was Kamen Rider Odin. Just for the fact that Odin was a really cool antagonistic boss Kamen Rider character who had a really amazing power set that he shouldn't have lost, to be honest. But that is a topic for another time. For now, thank you everyone for watching. As you guys are leaving, please remember, if you have your drinks and finish them up first, please leave them on the bar counter, and don't forget to take your belongings with you as you leave, and I wish you all a safe trip home. Goodbye everyone, and have a good evening.